Hello, dear reader. Welcome to my office. It is good to have you here. Make yourself comfortable. If you're ready, I would like to give you more information regarding your unconscious and your defense mechanisms. If you've just finished reading today's chapter, you've already discovered one of the most important ideas in psychoanalysis. Much of what guides your life happens outside your conscious awareness. Your unconscious quietly influences the way you think, feel, and behave. It shapes your habits, your fears, your relationships, your automatic reactions, and many of the decisions you make every day. You also discovered that, as a child, your mind had to adapt to the emotional world around you. And to do so, it developed what psychoanalysis calls defense mechanisms. But before we move on to today's exercise, I'd like to spend a little more time on one important idea. Because once you truly understand it, you'll never look at your own behavior in quite the same way again. What is a defense mechanism? Imagine that every difficult situation you experienced during childhood presented your mind with a problem. How do I stay close to my parents? How do I avoid rejection? How do I make sense of what is happening? How do I keep going when life feels overwhelming? Your mind couldn't simply stop functioning. It had to find solutions. Sometimes those solutions became people-pleasing. Sometimes they became perfectionism. Sometimes they became overthinking. Sometimes they became humor. Sometimes they became self-blame. These solutions are what psychoanalysts call defense mechanisms. They are not signs of weakness. They are remarkably intelligent adaptations to the reality you are living in. Many people believe that defense mechanisms exist to make us feel better. But that isn't really their purpose. Their purpose is something much more fundamental. They preserve continuity. They preserve the internal organization of your psychological world. Think of your unconscious as the operating system of your mind. It contains your beliefs, your expectations, your fears, your emotional reflexes, your habits, your defense mechanisms. All of these elements work together. Together, they form something like the psychological DNA of your unconscious. Just as your biological DNA gives continuity to your body, your unconscious preserves continuity in your psychological life. That is why defense mechanisms are repetitive, not because your mind lacks imagination, but because they were designed to maintain psychological coherence. They keep your inner world organized in the same way year after year, even when that organization has become painful. Let me give you an example. Imagine a child whose parents argue constantly. That child has two possible explanations. The first one is, my parents are frightening. My family is unsafe. The people who are supposed to protect me cannot protect me. For a child, that is terrifying. But there is another possible explanation. Maybe this is my fault. Maybe if I behaved better. Maybe if I became easier. Maybe if I stopped causing problems. Things would get better. Does this explanation feel pleasant? Of course not. But it preserves something essential. It preserves the child's feeling that the world still makes sense. More importantly, it preserves the feeling that something can still be controlled. Self-blame hurts, but psychological chaos hurts even more, so the unconscious sometimes chooses the explanation that allows the child to continue functioning, not because it is true, but because it protects the child's psychological stability. Now, why do defense mechanisms eventually become painful? Well, the difficulty is that your unconscious doesn't automatically update itself as your life changes. The defense mechanisms that helped you survive childhood continue operating during adulthood. This is exactly what happened to Julian. As a child, pleasing other people protected his relationships. It reduced conflict. It helped him feel emotionally safe. But today, Julian is no longer that child. His conscious mind wants something very different. He wants to set boundaries. He wants to say no. He wants healthier relationships. Yet every time he tries, his unconscious quietly activates yesterday's solution. His conscious mind says, "I deserve to say no." His unconscious replies, "Be careful. Relationships become dangerous when people are disappointed." Neither part is irrational. They simply belong to two different moments of Julian's life. One part still responds to yesterday's reality. The other is trying to live in today's reality. This is what an inner conflict looks like. One part of you wants to move forward. Another part is still trying to protect the person you once were. So, what should you do? If you recognized yourself somewhere in today's chapter, what should you do? Surprisingly, not very much, at least not yet. Most people immediately try to eliminate the behavior. They tell themselves, "I have to stop overthinking. I have to stop pleasing everyone. I have to stop blaming myself." But understanding always comes before change. For now, I would simply invite you to become curious. Every time you notice one of your recurring patterns, pause for a moment. Instead of asking, "What's wrong with me?" ask yourself, "What might my unconscious be trying to protect?" That question changes everything because it replaces self-criticism with curiosity. And curiosity is often where psychological change begins. In a moment, I'll invite you to complete today's exercise. Don't try to analyze yourself too deeply. Don't try to explain everything. Simply observe. Notice what keeps repeating. Notice the situations that trigger you. Notice the emotions that come back again and again. Notice the strategies you automatically rely on. Think like an explorer or an archaeologist. You're not trying to solve the mystery today. You're simply collecting clues. Over the next few days, we'll gradually discover what those clues have been trying to tell you all along. I'll see you tomorrow for day 2.